What's up, everyone? Today we're recapping episode 5 of Last of Us. This episode is called Endure and Survive. If you haven't checked out the recaps to the other episodes, I've included links in the description. If you've been watching these recaps, then you know my boy Damon is also here to help break down the episode. Now, before we get into it, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do if you enjoy this content. Now, before we go into a scene-by-scene breakdown, Damon, what were some initial thoughts from the episode?
I think the stakes are getting higher and higher, but these episodes keep on hitting better and better as well. It's really starting to come together, and I really like the action scenes paired with the drama in this episode. It's like equal parts, and honestly, if not 10 out of 10, at least a 9 out of 10 episode for me.
Okay, so let's get into it. We open up in Kansas City where we get a flashback of the night that the QZ was initially liberated from Fedra. The resistance, which is led by Kathleen, has succeeded. Riots are breaking out and the crowd is chanting, "Fuck you, Fedra." Flares are being shot in the air and the entire city is celebrating Fedra's downfall. We get some gruesome scenes of murder and torture out in the open streets. Presumably, anybody with ties to Fedra is going to get killed. One person gets shot in the head. Another man is being hung by an angry mob. A truck driving by broadcasts the message, "Kansas City belongs to the people. Collaborators surrender now and you will receive a fair trial." Yeah, right. Just a quick side note, this is probably what Kansas City is going to look like after their Super Bowl parade. This is what Philly looks like on a regular Friday night. Also, congrats to the Chiefs for winning. Congrats to Andy Reid and Mahomes. I'm a Pats fan, but holy shit, Mahomes is the best I've ever seen. Brady is clearly still the GOAT, but Mahomes is 100% on that trajectory. Back to regularly scheduled programming. We cut to Henry and Sam hiding out. Remember we ended episode 4 with Henry and Sam pointing guns at Joel and Ellie? Henry is communicating with Sam in sign language because Sam is deaf, and they're trying their best to escape, but it's now all hostile territory because Henry is a collaborator. We then cut to a group of people being held captive by Kathleen. These are also collaborators. Kathleen interrogates them on the whereabouts of Henry. We also find out that the name of Kathleen's handsome right-hand man is Perry. We get some insight on why people collaborated with Fedra. In exchange for snitching on their neighbors, Fedra would give them medicine, alcohol, food, etc. Kathleen tells the prisoners that they will be put on trial, found guilty, but since she's not as evil as Fedra, they'll just do some jail time. All Kathleen wants in return is Henry's whereabouts. Nobody in the group is talking, and Kathleen tells Perry to kill them all. This works, and one of the informers breaks down and says that Henry is with Edelstein. Remember, Edelstein is the old doctor from episode 4 who got clapped by Kathleen. Anyways, this info surprises Kathleen because she didn't know that Edelstein was a collaborator. Kathleen tries to get to the location of the hideout where Henry, Sam, and Edelstein are, but the informer doesn't know. Kathleen then tells her men to go door to door to find Henry, Sam, and Edelstein. Perry, the voice of reason, is like, "Yo, Kathleen, you sure you want to do this now?" And she just basically tells him to shut the fuck up and follow her orders. She says, "He's not my 7th priority, Perry." Perry asks if they're actually going to put the prisoners on trial, and Kathleen says no. She instructs them to kill the prisoners and burn the bodies after. We see the men walk into the cell as the prisoners start screaming for their lives. Let's take a break here and just regroup real quick. What did you think about those opening scenes?
I really like what they're doing, similar to the concept they used in episode 2, where they're sort of backfilling information on what caused a tragedy or a catastrophe to occur, instead of kind of explaining how the whole outbreak took place, as they did in the flashback with episode 2. Here we just kind of see the whole downfall of the city. And it does raise an interesting question because we've seen Fedra-controlled QZs a la where Joel was previously. Definitely desperation is the name of the game. That's how the currency is given. That's how the barter system works and how everybody gets what they want. But Kansas City, for being a free state, kind of seems like a horrible place to be right now compared to the regular QZ. Maybe a hot take. Maybe I'm a sheeple. Maybe I'm just kind of like, following in line here. But the chaos meter is sky high all over that place. The public hangings, like constant and everything like that. I know Fedra does it too, but it seemed incredibly militant and unstable.
Yeah, and that's some good foreshadowing because we will definitely touch on that point of Kansas City being a really, really specific type of free state. So now we cut to Henry and Sam arriving at the warehouse. Sorry, not warehouse, but it's a little safe house where they are greeted by Edelstein. Now remember, this is the same safe house, I believe, that was discovered by Kathleen in the previous episode. Edelstein leads them up to the attic where they break out the remaining food that they have. There are about 20 cans of food and 6 pounds of jerky, which according to Henry will last them 11 days at most. They have to find a way out of the city. Edelstein tells Henry to stop being scared because Sam will be scared. So Henry goes over and shares a nice moment with Sam. He breaks out a huge package of crayons to let Sam draw. I'm going to take a quick break here. What did you think of the initial attic scene?
This is the kind of thing that these bastards do when they want you to fall in love with a couple of characters that are probably not going to be around too long. That was the vibe that I got, not to spoil anything whatsoever, but it just felt like you are going to be pretty goddamn sad if one of them dies based on what they build up. Like, it kind of came across like a true drama, in my opinion, anyways.
Yeah, they want you to bond and connect with the characters a bit more. So now we cut to 10 days later where Henry and Sam are still hiding out in the attic. Edelstein went out to get food, but he hasn't returned yet. We obviously know that he was captured by Kathleen and killed. Henry and Sam are running out of food, and they can no longer wait in the attic for Edelstein. They have to leave and find a way to get food. Henry tells Sam that he's been studying the Resistance's patterns, and they can escape. As they are about to leave the safe house, Henry peeks out of the window and sees Joel and Ellie's pickup truck crash into the building. So basically, while Joel and Ellie were first pulling up to Kansas City and fighting for their lives, Henry and Sam happen to be nearby watching from the safe house. Henry sees Joel kill the members of the Resistance. He doesn't know who Joel is, but he does know that Joel is not with them. We then cut to Henry and Sam sneaking into the same tall building that Joel and Ellie are in. It's nighttime, and the pair of them finally make their way up to the same floor where Joel and Ellie are sleeping. We then finally cut to the present moment where Henry and Sam have guns trained on Joel and Ellie. This is also the ending scene in episode 4, so now we are finally all caught up. So now that we're all caught up, Damon, like, what were your thoughts on that?
In my opinion, like, I just love the idea of seeing what Joel and Ellie were up to when they first showed up there from a different vantage point, because you get a whole idea of how, Joel is actually a pretty terrifying guy to watch in action if you don't know who he is and you're not on his side. Like, he's a wild card you got to keep accounted for.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, we see everything from Joel and Ellie's standpoint for the most part, so we're experiencing terror as Joel is being, outnumbered. But from an objective viewpoint, he basically killed 3 people on his own. Well, he got help from Ellie, but still, like, Henry didn't really see that part. So, anyways, we now cut to the standoff, which is present moment, where Henry and Sam have guns on Joel and Ellie. Henry wants Joel to know that they mean no harm, but Joel's tone of voice makes Henry nervous, but Ellie is able to somewhat diffuse the situation. Eventually, the guns are withdrawn, and Henry tells Joel that he is with his brother Sam and that he is the most wanted man in Kansas City. The 4 of them take a small break to eat. Joel provides Henry and Sam with a cookie from Bill and Frank's place. We learn that Sam is 8, which means he's a low-key genius because the way he communicates with his older brother Henry is it's very adult-like in a way. Ellie and Sam seem to bond immediately. Joel wants to separate after they eat, but Henry poses an offer. He will show Joel how to get out of the city in the morning. The next morning, all 4 of them are on the top floor of the building surveying the city. Joel says that he heard Kansas City Fedra was notoriously brutal and savage, and Henry confirms all of these rumors. So, Damon, something you mentioned earlier about this Kansas City being a little bit unique. Because of the evil of Fedra, it led to the murderous rebellion that we saw 10 days earlier. Henry then admits to Joel that he is a collaborator with Fedra, and Joel is immediately disgusted. Joel doesn't work with rats, but Henry counters by saying Joel doesn't have a choice because Henry knows how to get them out of the city. In exchange, Joel provides protection for the group. Henry has never killed anyone, and it isn't good with weapons, so he needs Joel's expertise. Joel reluctantly agrees, and Henry explains how to get out of the city. The city is surrounded by highways, and Kathleen, leader of the resistance, has people posted on the inside perimeter of the highways. In order to escape the city, they need to use tunnels. Kansas City has these maintenance tunnels underground, which can get them outside of the city to the residential area. There, they can cross a bridge over the river and get out of the city. However, there's a catch. Back when Fedra was in charge, they drove all of the infected underground. This happened about 15 years ago. So basically, the tunnels can get you out of the city, but there could be a shit ton of infected down there. Joel thinks the idea is crazy, but Henry says that a Fedra guy told him that they had cleaned out most of the underground area. There may be 1 or 2 infected remaining, but the tunnels should mostly be clear. The resistance thinks that the tunnels are still full of infected, so they won't be down there. This should allow the 4 of them to make it out without an issue. Now, obviously, we saw the scene from episode 4 where there's a big sinkhole forming in the foundation of that initial safe house, so clearly there are infected underground. We also learned that the infected who can't see are called clickers. This is what Joel, Tess, and Ellie dealt with back in episode 2. So Joel is obviously skeptical of the plan, but they have no other choice. Let's take a break here. What do you think about their plan?
It's your typical high-risk, high-reward play, right? It is the only way that you can feasibly get out without running into the squad patrolling the streets right now. So it does seem like you're going to have to go for it, but you just know you're going to see some infected at some point, like it's going to happen.
So continuing on, the four of them enter this abandoned bank building where they can get access to the maintenance tunnels. They're now proceeding with the plan. They don't see any infected in the tunnels, and as they journey underground, they discover an abandoned settlement which almost looks like a preschool or daycare. Joel says that these settlements started up after Outbreak Day, where people went underground for safety. They probably didn't follow rules and got infected. The group takes some time to chill in the settlement and wait for it to get dark so they have more cover. Ellie and Sam have some fun being kids, and they bond over this comic book, and they also play some soccer. Joel and Henry sit down and chop it up. Henry tells Joel that he collaborated with Fedra because he needed drugs to treat Sam's leukemia. So the kid is deaf and had leukemia, which is just, that's horrifying. In order to get the drugs to treat Sam's leukemia, Henry sold out Kathleen's brother to Fedra. Kathleen's brother, according to Henry, was a great selfless man who was the original leader of the resistance movement in Kansas City. This is why Kathleen wants Henry's head on a stick. So what'd you think about that? You touched on it a little bit earlier, but now you get the full details. What'd you think about their little stop in the settlement?
Kind of a creepy little underground walkway, as you mentioned. That murky picture of the past that you get with the shadows in the corners of the room and you can't quite see clearly. I was almost expecting an infected pop-up and that something creepy in that, like a kid or something. Like we mentioned before, you don't see a lot of kid infected.
You don't.
Like it's just not a common thing that actually happens too much. So it kind of reminded me of, you ever see Snowpiercer?
No, I haven't.
Really good dystopian film where it's basically like they're on this train, yada yada. I'll spare you all the details, but they're on a train that basically can't stop because of how cold it is outside. And there is like a little preschool nursery kind of area where the kids are taught. And this, I bet it had that same kind of vibe before. Like you see like the picture on the wall of the Fedra as our protectors, and it's like, God damn, these kids are feeding them, getting fed propaganda all day long down here. We also do get the backing of Henry's emotional need to basically rap, which, you know, if it's going to be your disabled, cancer-ridden little brother, or if it's going to be like maybe a couple people who you really know, but like maybe you're not super tight with, you give them up, you have to. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah, it makes you feel for Henry because it's like, what else? Like you probably would have done the same thing. You know, it's for your little brother. But we now cut to the resistance, who are still out searching for the group. Kathleen is chilling in her childhood bedroom, which she shared with her brother Michael. We find out his name. Perry rolls up and he informs Kathleen that they haven't found the men who killed Brian, aka Joel and Ellie, or Henry and Sam. So Kathleen then shares a story with Perry. When she and Michael were kids, Kathleen was scared of thunderstorms. Michael told her that their room was this protective box that nothing could penetrate. Basically, Michael seemed like a great brother and a good guy overall. Kathleen is in tears while talking about Michael, but then it gets dark. She says that Michael would be horrified by the things she's done. She also admits that Michael told her not to be vengeful and to forgive Henry. But you see, Kathleen is fucking crazy, so she will not forgive, and she doesn't give a fuck about what anyone says. Perry tells Kathleen that the resistance is 100% supportive of her and that she, not her brother, was the one who actually changed Kansas City. Come on, Perry, you gotta be better than that. Quick scene, we get some insight into Kathleen's psychology. What'd you think about that, man?
Yeah, I mean, she's just getting crazier every scene. Mentally, she's reaching this breaking point that clearly, like, she's not going to be able to get over. More on that later. But it's just kind of taking a toll on her, and, you know, a straw has come along to break the camel's back, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think she's kind of the dark side of what can happen to you when you let, I won't say emotion, but when you let tragedy run your life in the wrong way. I think that she's the result.
So we now cut back to Joel, Ellie, Henry, and Sam. They have safely made it out of the tunnels to the suburbs of Kansas City, very close to freedom. As they are walking, it's nighttime. Ellie suggests that Henry and Sam journey with them to Wyoming. Joel shoots it down immediately. Henry and Sam seem excited at the prospect, and right as everything seems to be going well, a sniper rifle fires and nearly hits the group. They quickly take cover behind a car as the sniper continues to fire from the window of a house about 100 yards away. Henry is panicking and tries to flee with Sam, but then almost gets sniped. Joel tells them to stay put. The sniper's aim sucks, so Joel plans to get into the house to apprehend the sniper. Joel takes off and the sniper continues to miss Joel. He gets into the house safely and ends up finding this old man sitting on a chair with the sniper in hand. The man is caught off guard, but Joel doesn't kill him at first. He gives the man a chance to live, but the man makes a move on Joel, and Joel has no choice but to catch a body. There is no reasoning with these motherfuckers, Joel. As Joel grabs a sniper rifle, he hears a walkie-talkie go off next to the man's body. The voice on the other end is Kathleen, and she says to hold them where they are. So basically, this man was working for the resistance, and he was stationed outside the suburbs. He tipped off Kathleen, and now the resistance is almost there. Joel looks out of the window and screams at Henry, Ellie, and Sam to run. I'm going to take a break right here. Talk to me, man.
If you ever think that a peaceful resolution is about to be reached in an HBO action of any sort, do yourself a favor. Press pause. And if there's more than 15, 20 minutes left, no one's going home safe yet. When you see that, oh, it's just right over the embankment. It's like, oh, it's just that easy. Okay. Nah, not going to happen. That scene upstairs when Joel tracks the guy, basically, is nearly shot for shot. True Detective Season 3, when Mahershala Ali has to pop the trash man from like the back, and he's just like, don't do it, man. Don't do it. And you know he's going to do it, right? Please don't do it. Joel, honestly, I wouldn't say he pled with the guy, but he was borderline pleading with the guy, not because he knows he's going to have to kill him. He just doesn't want to catch an old man body like that for no reason, but had to do what he had to do. We know shit's about to break loose out here. Let's see what happens.
So now we cut to Kathleen and her squad in heavy vehicles approaching the house. There are cars scattered everywhere, but Kathleen has the lead vehicle ram them out of the way. The Resistance's vehicles are all equipped with plows just for this job. So Henry, Ellie, and Sam start running towards the house as the lead Resistance vehicle starts closing the gap. Joel fires a flurry of shots from the sniper rifle. So does Ellie from her pistol, but she doesn't do anything, obviously, because she's just a kid. But Joel finally headshots the driver, sending the vehicle crashing into a nearby home. The vehicle then explodes in flames. This is just like GTA San Andreas when vehicles just explode if they're upside down. Henry, Ellie, and Sam hide behind a broken down car as the rest of the Resistance arrives, led by Kathleen and her watchdog, Perry. Perry is a straight up bitch boy, let me make that clear. Kathleen tells Henry to come out. Henry agrees but begs Kathleen to let Ellie and Sam go. Kathleen refuses, and she says that she knows why Henry did what he did, but she doesn't care. Sam was meant to die, and Henry was fucking with fate. What an evil, evil lady. Henry tells Ellie to take Sam and run. He steps out from behind the car and faces Kathleen. As Kathleen is about to pop Henry, we see the exploded vehicle start to cave into a sinkhole. Holy shit, I'm going to stop right here.
It's always that little chore that you forget to do, that you push aside, that comes back to get you. And in this case, they didn't clean out their room full of cordyceps. And I don't know what the plan would have been. We've talked about this a little bit. If they would have actually planned, when they first saw the cordyceps creepy basement room ready to explode in a way, would the solution have just been to pack up all your resources and move into the countryside? Would it have been to move into a different part of KC and just lay heavy flammable materials in that underground tunnel? Like, how could they have even acted on that without causing mass panic?
So let's cut back to the action. Kathleen is about to cap Henry when the exploded Resistance vehicle falls into the sinkhole. We hear screams of the infected ring out, and then all of a sudden a shit ton of infected spring out of the sinkhole and start attacking everyone. They heavily outnumber the Resistance, and even though they are shooting with assault rifles, more and more infected just keep coming out and swarming them. Joel is still in the building, keeping an eye on Ellie and trying to snipe any infected that come near her. He picks off a few, but there's far too many. Perry tells Resistance members to run the infected over. Perry's a smart dude, but it's not enough. People are getting torn apart. Ellie runs into an abandoned car to hide, which I just thought was it was a really stupid thing to do. All of a sudden, we hear a huge growl, and this monstrous fungus-covered figure emerges. I don't even know what to call this thing. It's just like if Shaq was infected. That's what it looks like. It's covered with tons of fungus. It's standing like 7 feet tall. The fungus serves as armor, so the bullets that Perry's firing at it doesn't do anything. It starts charging at Perry and rips his fucking head off. That's what you get for following Kathleen, man. Ellie is hiding in a car when, as Damon mentioned, we don't see a lot of, children who are infected, but this time we see a child clicker jump inside. Sometimes we forget that children can get infected too. Ellie narrowly escapes, but she finds Henry and Sam hiding under a car while infected are grabbing at them. Joel keeps sniping away at the infected near Ellie. Ellie ends up stabbing the infected that are attacking Henry and Sam, and she pulls them out from under the car, and they all start running towards the house. As they're about to get away, Kathleen stops them and points a gun at them. This bitch is crazy, man, because she's so hell-bent on revenge that she's ignoring the infected. She just wants revenge. But as she's about to pull the trigger, the same child clicker that almost killed Ellie emerges and jumps on Kathleen and rips her to pieces. They get away as we see hordes of infected flood out from the sinkhole and take over. The rest of Kansas City is absolutely fucked. What'd you think about that?
At first it was horrifying because when you just see them kind of cascading out of that pit, you're like, everyone's fucked. It reminded me of when the orcs level up in Lord of the Rings to the Orcai. When you see the big ones start to come out and you're like, oh no, this is going to be too much. They really had no shot unless Joel put on his LeBron Game 7 shoes and just basically took out what appeared to be 20 to 30 with just his sniper from like the roost up there and then eventually going like further to the ground level. One thing does worry you though throughout this whole scene. It's not like our pals are walking away unscathed, which is always something to watch out for whenever you have any fights that don't involve human on human when it's human on cordyceps for obvious reasons.
Which brings us to our next scene where we cut to an abandoned motel where Joel, Henry, Ellie, and Sam are hiding out for the night. They seem to have escaped from the battle unscathed. Ellie and Sam are hanging out and reading the comic book while Joel and Henry talk. Joel invites Henry and Sam to actually come along to Wyoming. So as you had mentioned earlier, Damon, he has these barriers, but eventually he softens up. All seems well, and it's time for bed, and Ellie and Sam are sharing their own room. Sam asks Ellie what her biggest fear is, and Ellie admits that it's ending up alone. Sam then shows Ellie his leg, which was bitten by an infected. The fungus is starting to spread. It looks just like Tess's wound. Oh shit. Ellie, however, tells Sam that her blood is medicine, and she cuts herself and tries to rub her blood on Sam's wound. You have a great heart, Ellie, but this isn't how it works, unfortunately. The next morning, Ellie wakes up to find Sam sitting on the edge of the bed by himself, not saying a word. Ellie walks up to Sam and immediately gets attacked. The two spill out of the room in front of Henry and Joel. Ellie fights for her life and calls for Joel's help, but Henry has grabbed the gun and shoots near Joel's feet to prevent him from helping. Henry keeps the gun pointed at Joel for a quick second, then immediately turns and shoots Sam in the head. Henry then realizes what he just did, and then he shoots himself in the head. God fucking damn it, man. What were your thoughts?
Right after you get this tender moment between Ellie and Sam, right, we finally figure out that it's not that Sam can't stand to see somebody else scared, it's that Sam needs an explanation for these feelings of fear. He doesn't know how to explain them, which is the whole problem, has been from the jump. And Ellie basically explains, does a really nice job. Like, she's coming a long way. She really calms the kid down. But when he asks the question, if one of them if one of them becomes you, or if one of them takes you over, are you still inside it? If you become a monster, are you still inside it? Like, can you still think? Something along that lines. And it's like, you kind of had some foreshadowing that things weren't going to go so well. And go figure, they do it to the most adorable, like, emotionally connected character they've built up in one episode flat since we saw our boys back in Lincoln,
Massachusetts.
And it's tough. You ever remember reading like Mice and Men?
Dude, I actually never read that in high school. They never had it in my curriculum. Maybe they should have.
So there's this thing where basically Henry feels it's his responsibility to take care of it, and that he doesn't want anybody else to take care of it. Like, I took him firing at Joel to be get the fuck away from this. Give me time to think about what I'm gonna do, and I'll solve this. And he does solve it. Which, I mean, man, this is some heavy shit. Especially after you had just pointed out, like, they agreed to come on the trip. They were going to be like a group of four, and it was going to be cool, and it was going to be like happy, and everyone was going to have a friend, and then just fucking snatched away, man.
Just snatched away. And it's crazy because after episode 3, go check out the recap that we did, by the way. Link is in the description. But after episode 3, I just feel like I'm so emotionally numb. Like, you can't hurt me anymore. You just can't hurt me. Like, that Bill and Frank episode was so fucked. So that brings us to the final scene of the episode where Joel and Ellie finish burying the bodies of Henry and Sam. Ellie looks stone cold, and it seems like a lot of her innocence is now wiped away. She's seen death before, but when you see a child die, it's just gotta hit you differently. She tells Joel, "Let's go," and it's almost like she's older than Joel now. It seems like she's the one who's harder than Joel. And the two of them set off west for Wyoming. End of the episode. What were your thoughts?
Which way is west?
Which way is west?
That was maybe the coldest coldest post-game comment since on to Cincinnati, man. That was, I think you can see that she's taking on this more mature way of dealing with stuff, which is to bottle it up inside. You know what I mean? Like, she is going to blame herself for Sam's death for sure, but she knows that there's other stuff at hand and there's a more important end goal right now, and she's kind of pushing through that, which is interesting. Overall, it seemed like there was this common thread in the episode where we have both Joel, Henry, and even Kathleen, who are the key decision makers in almost every situation. Yeah. Those three basically run the episode in a way. They are all sort of carrying the torch for somebody else, right? Kathleen, she has to make up for the loss of her brother. With Henry, he has to protect his little brother. And then Joel has sort of found himself like, you know, a daughter figure that he's looking after. Joel's also carrying the torch for Tess as well, and his own daughter from back in the original cordyceps like outbreak. So they're all kind of acting from this place of responsibility and emotional connection for someone in their past in some way. But like, Kathleen is just the failed experiment, right? It's like the Goldilocks, like too hot, too cold, just right. She is too cold. She is just letting it run through her veins like ice. And she's just kind of fueled by hatred and making these heinous decisions that would make even, like, you know, the Federer agent's jaws drop. Where Henry is sort of taken deeper into sorrow, but then this kind of clouds his judgment because he takes a little while to actually take care of Sam at the end, and then he also turns it on himself. And, like, I know he must be feeling some stuff, but, like, he did what he could. Like, it just kind of felt like he let it consume him in a way as well. You can see he's even looking for someone to blame when he's pointing that gun around at first, but he kind of puts the barrel where he feels the responsibility lies in the end. Where Joel's core is kind of just right at this point, right? He was dormant emotionally, whether it was towards Tess, Tommy and Tess, to be honest with you, I bet he fucking neglected the shit out of those two after the passing of his daughter. Like, he wasn't some, like, warm, happy, fuzzy guy in between, that's for sure. But it seems like he's found a way to work more in harmony with himself, and what's going to happen when Tommy comes into the fold to Joel's new kind of zen that he's kind of reached, if that makes sense, and Ellie's growth as well.
With that being said, once again, if you enjoy this content, subscribe. A lot more is coming out. We'll be doing every single episode. Thanks for watching. We will catch y'all later.